Okay, I'd like to call the Budget Review Committee to order. It's February 6, 2020, and we're in the Nashua High North Boardroom, B166, and it is 9:40 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman-at-Large, excuse me, there we go. Alderman-at-Large Ben Clemens. Here. Alderman-at-Large Michael O'Brien is present. Alderman Jan Schmidt.
I'm here.
Alderman Ernest Jetty. Alderman-at-Large Laurie Wilshire.
Here.
And Alderwoman-at-Large Shoshana Kelly is, okay, we're unable to get her via the phone. And our chairman, Richard Dowd.
Present.
Also, Mr. Chairman, present is Alderman Tenza, Alderman Lou, Alderman Laws, and if you could just bear with me, keeping everybody. Oh, I'm coming to you. Like I say, bear with me, be patient. Alderman Klee, Alderman Karen, and anybody I miss?
Alderman Jetty's joined us.
Jetty.
Oh, no, I called your name, but you weren't in the room.
I am now.
Thank you for coming back. Glad you came back to us. All right.
Okay. Also in attendance is Director Cummings. Yeah, okay. The first item of business is public comment. I have two people signed up. Mary Ann Melizzigolia. I think perhaps over there would work.
Right at the end.
Right here. Oh, okay. Okay. And I will turn the mic on because I always get yelled for not doing that.
With all those years' experience in this room.
I know, you would think I would know by now. Mary Ann Melizzigolia, 2 Road. And I am not going to sit here and repeat everything you heard, but as many of you know, and Alderman Wilshire and I, as well as several others in this room, served on that feasibility committee and have been with this project as it's moved forward. The mayor spoke, as did many others here, about this being an economic development project. And I think, as many people stated, it's not just about downtown, but about the city. And I think we all need to consider that because many of us talk about the need to bring new people and young people into the community. And at some point, all of us are going to retire from these positions. And we need people to come into the community and learn to love it as much as we do and be willing to move up and participate in government. So I think anything that is going to attract people here and get them involved as residents is something we should be looking forward to. You heard about the American for the Arts study. I think there's lots of documentation in city records about the arts serving as economic development and how the performing arts also helps the visual arts. The director of the symphony talked to you about people coming in from outside the community and staying here to spend their dollars. I will just recount, and the owner of Codex has left. We went to see Piano Men in Manchester. It was almost impossible to get a place for dinner because we went at the last minute, and we ended up at his establishment. Wanted to go back, and it was packed, as were several other establishments. So we said, well, we'll just go back to Nashua. It was 10:15 at night. The streets of Nashua were empty. We met a younger couple, like in their late 20s, early 30s, and they looked at us and said, is there any place we can go and get a drink? And I said, well, that's what we're looking for too. And they just wanted to go have a cocktail. So when you look at what happens, just because of live entertainment in a downtown area, you have to realize that it does have an impact. And Director Cummings will love to have the parking fees, as will Great America Downtown. So I think you really need to think about this in the big picture. I think, like many people, I have been concerned about public transparency, right to know, but the process that's being followed is a valid, legitimate process, and I think we have to move forward and support that. And I know that there's been talk about extending the time. Last night I talked to Director Cummings about making it at least 2 years. Ms. Novotny talked about these sorts of things taking up to 5 years. So I would say 2 to 3 years max. At some point, the public needs to know we finished with this. And so I think it's balancing those two things out. You're going to make your decisions, and I will sit back as a member of the public and watch you do that. But I do think we need to allow this process to go forward. So I hope you will at least continue allowing them to do their work, because there is a lot of excitement in the community and many people are looking forward to supporting this and also sitting in the seats which we tested last night. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lannon?
Hello again, Rich Landon, 11 McGrath Road in Pelham. I'll try to be brief as well. I know this whole process, and in talking to some of the Board of Aldermen, and obviously there's some that are on the steering committee, I know it puts, in some ways, you folks in a different position than usual, because we're obviously not even telling you, but and it's been explained a lot tonight, and mostly by Deb, about the reasons why. I've never been involved with a capital campaign committee in my life. Maybe never again, I don't know. But I am definitely in this until the end. I will show myself and everybody of that. But there's a lot of good reasons, and I won't repeat everything that Deb said, but it's clear. Capital campaign committees are run the correct way, and that's why we have a consultant who is very experienced, as has been said, both in Nashua and throughout the state. And I think that's just something to remember. We're not trying to be secretive. We're not trying to keep it. There's a very solid reason why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, we'd love to be able to come out with some numbers very soon. We're confident it'll be soon. I don't know what soon is, but I think it'll be in our book it's soon, and we're going to be working diligently until that happens. And I did say earlier, I mean, the committee will continue working hard no matter what decisions are made to make this happen. I think it's important. And to piggyback what Mary Ann just said, I mean, I said at the beginning of this, I said, yeah, I'll be involved, but I'm not really into the arts and stuff. Then I start thinking I go to about 20 concerts a year and plays with my grandkids and you name it. I mean, I was at Lowell Auditorium last week for a kids thing, and I'll be at Wayne Theater this Saturday for a concert. So I go to more than I think and probably spend too much money, but every single time, I don't care, even if it's with a 5 and a 7-year-old, I'm either eating before, after, having a drink, if it's a concert, like sometimes stay, whether it's Boston, whatever. So sure, there's no secret that the restaurants and the bars will probably be a little more direct benefactors. But quite frankly, it's be the whole city, because I know a lot of times I'll go to the Cape, I go to the music tent, which is kind of a cool place. I'm not going to drive back home, so I stay there. I don't necessarily care where I eat, so I'll eat anywhere in town. And some people that may do that will be eating in DW Highway or Amherst Street. So, but even if they are just staying downtown, you may say, well, it's all the money staying downtown. But if all these restaurants and bars downtown, I don't know, and I've talked to some of the restaurants, they're thinking 20 to 30% increase easily in the business. Brandon might be able to tell me better. I mean, he's been in restaurants and so forth, the business for a long time, and there's others. I wish the owner of Codex was still here. The percentages that some of the restaurant owners are telling me what they expect an increase when this is open is pretty substantial. They're going to need more workers. They're going to need more people in the kitchen. They're going to need more waiters and waitresses. So that's where the trickle effect that helps the entire city. not just the downtown. And I think a lot of people kind of blame us, oh, you just care about downtown. Of course, Michael Buckley or Billy Focus in this is they're going to make more money. Yeah, but if they're making a lot more money, that means they need more help and they need more workers, and then those people are spending money, and maybe those people are staying over and they're staying at the Marriott Courtyard. So the trickle-down effect throughout, and that's where this economic benefit comes that's been discussed earlier. I think it's huge, and I think it gets thrown aside too easily. So I hope that you folks can help us out in that matter and help us out to drop the time limit so that we can continue on. And hopefully we can get everybody some really good news that I think they'll be pleased about in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, communications?
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have three. We have one communication. Also, these communications were filed without objections after the agenda was completed. First communication is to Laurie Wilshire, President of the Board of Aldermen, from Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development, regarding the project status update for the Performing Arts Center and analysis of R18001. Mr. Chairman, that is also followed and accompanied by another communication from Director Cummings, the overall project status update. And also our third and last communication submitted is from Mr. Fred T-Boom of the Performing Arts Center PAC cost comparison.
Thank you. Unfinished business?
There is none.
New business resolutions.
Before us this evening is R20001, Second Amendment to R18001, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $15,500,000 for the Performing Arts Center located at 201 Main Street. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Alderman O'Brien recommends we send the bill on to the full board for final approval. I just want to, in a second, I just want to reiterate that this is the Second Amendment to R18001. The only thing it does to the legislation for the Performing Arts Center is it removes the 2-year time period for raising private funds. That's the motion right now before us. Alderman Clements?
Thank you. So we heard a lot of great testimony this evening, both for and against the this amendment to R18001. But honestly, from my perspective, the most compelling was from former Alderman Ken Siegel. Because I understand what Mr. Siegel was doing that night, and putting this to the voters was actually my idea as a Hail Mary to keep this open and keep this going. Now, sometimes I don't know if you know football. Most of us know football. Some of us may not. But when you go to throw a Hail Mary, a lot of people think that you're doing so that you can win the game. But sometimes you throw a Hail Mary so that you can just tie it and get to overtime. And to me, that's what that vote was. That was a Hail Mary pass by the Board of Aldermen to get a pulse for how the city of Nashua felt about the Performing Arts Center. And the majority of people, yes, it was a small majority, but a majority of people decided that it was worthwhile to move forward. Now, in the haste of the evening, there were decisions that were made that, had there been more time, probably could have been vetted a lot better. But when the clock's winding down and there's 3 seconds left in the game, you just got to throw that pass sometimes and make sure that you catch it in the end zone to get to overtime. Well, now we're in overtime. And, you know, there was a lot of things that happened that, you know, would have been, I think, achievable had that 2-year time period not been 2 years. I also think, however, that the 2-year time period definitely expedited this project. It absolutely did. It put a fire under people, and it was something that was a motivator, and it's something that bothers me about city government is how slow it operates. And so the fact that we have 2 major donors, Bank of America and Enterprise Bank, shows that this project has viability. As the mayor has said, there are new housing projects that are coming into fruition. There are businesses, we've heard from business owners this evening, this is something that they want, that they think is going to help their businesses. It's an economic driver. It absolutely is. And for the folks who are worried about their property taxes, the best way to lower your property taxes is to have new businesses, new development, new projects come into the city. Because that will lower the residential property taxes for everybody. This is going to be a win-win, and it's an investment in our future. That being said, I also do believe that the folks who spoke this evening who said that we ought to have a timeline on this were correct. And so with that said, I am going to make an amendment, or propose an amendment to this so that the last sentence, which is stricken, is replaced with the following sentence. So this is my motion to amend. The last sentence should read, "This resolution shall expire on August 31st, 2021, in the event that the capital campaign has not reached 70% of its publicly stated goal of $2,500,000 by that date." And that's my amendment, and I'd like to speak further to that.
Okay.
This sets 18 months, approximately, a little bit more than 18 months to get this done. It's a little less than the 2 years that was asked for. I think if we don't have it done by then, we're in trouble, my opinion. I think that this is a reasonable timeline, given that the majority of the fundraising started in August of 2019. This will give a total period of 3 years to raise the required funds, August 2019 to the end of August 2021. So, or 2 years, I'm sorry. I think that that should be enough time to get us to 70%. So that's my amendment, and I hope folks here this evening will support that.
Alderman Wiltshire?
Thank you. I appreciate that amendment because I was going to consider making an amendment to this as well. And I'm okay with your timeline. I think that works. I mean, I did, talk to a few people that thought, they could get it done in that time frame. It was a good hearing tonight, listening to both sides of the argument. I've been involved in this right from the start, and I plan to support it right through its fruition. So I do appreciate that amendment, and I will be supporting it.
Alderman Laws, then Alderman Lou.
Yeah, well, thank you. Obviously not a voting member of this committee. very excited that Alderman Clemmons and I agree on this. I was going to try to find a way to propose that amendment, because I feel like 18 months is perfect. It resets the clock. They wanted 2 years originally. They started 6 months ago. 18 months gives them that 2-year bracket. First of all. Second of all, August of 2021 is 2.5 months before an election where 12, 15 of us are going to be on the ballot. And it puts it back to the voter, gives them the opportunity to get rid of us if we're not doing a job that they think is good. And I like that accountability. It matches up with the fact that they don't think there's any transparency right now, which I respect and appreciate. Give them the opportunity to vote us out. So, thank you. Thank you, Alderman Clemmons.
Alderman Lou?
Thank you. Alderman Clemmons, did you mean with the new goal of 70% of the 2.5, not 100% of the 2.5?
That's correct. So 70% of the publicly stated goal of 2,500,000.
And what would be the purpose of reducing the public portions? What would be the purpose of reducing that from the stated amount to only 70% of the stated amount?
Alderman Clemmons?
We heard tonight from Ms. Novotny that we're in the quiet phase, as it's been called, of the fundraising. This basically puts to the resolution that once it's reached that 70% goal that they have to go into the non-quiet phase or public phase, it therefore, at that point, would take off the timeline altogether. And